For decades, popular culture has warned us about a terrifying stretch of water where hundreds of planes and ships have been swallowed whole. This supposed danger zone hovers roughly 1.3 million square kilometers of the Atlantic, stretching between Florida, Bermuda, and Puerto Rico. But maritime insurance providers do not charge a single extra cent for vessels crossing this specific route. Looking at a chart comparing accident rates inside the triangle to the global ocean, we see a perfectly level playing field. The rate of shipwrecks is statistically identical. So a mathematically average patch of the Atlantic has somehow maintained a reputation for a supernatural curse for over 5 centuries. To find out how a myth like this takes hold, we have to look back to 1492, when Christopher Columbus recorded seeing mysterious dancing lights hovering in the night sky over these waters. Columbus had been navigating open water for months before finally arriving in the Caribbean and encountering the native Taino population. There was no alien portal or magical beacon greeting his fleet. The exhausted, severely sleep-deprived explorer was almost certainly just looking at the hilltop campfires of those indigenous communities. When a human mind is pushed to the brink of physical fatigue in an isolated environment, it will invent magic to explain something it doesn't immediately understand. That same psychological need for a fantastical explanation helped build the bedrock of the modern legend, the 1945 disappearance of Flight 19, where 5 Navy planes and 14 men vanished without a trace. These men were flying TBM Avenger bombers, like the ones pictured here, on a routine training mission off the coast of Florida. The actual cause of their disappearance had nothing to do with paranormal activity. It was a tragic chain of human error triggered by faulty equipment. During the bombing run, the flight leader's compasses failed. Navigating strictly by sight and experiencing severe spatial disorientation, he was supposed to lead the squadron on this path, turning west toward safety. Instead, he mistakenly directed the formation east, pushing them hundreds of miles out into the open Atlantic until the planes ran out of fuel and hit the water. The facts of this mechanical failure were thoroughly documented, but in the 1960s, pulp fiction writers like Vincent Gaddis ignored the navigational data, published a highly embellished article in Argosy magazine, and officially coined the term Bermuda Triangle. A fatal maritime accident caused by a broken compass was repackaged as a supernatural mystery simply to sell magazines. This brings us to the most eerie phenomenon attributed to the region. The United States Hydrographic Survey once recorded 1,600 ghost ships, vessels found drifting aimlessly with their entire crews missing. The ocean itself creates physical traps here, zones of dead wind known as the doldrums, combined with massive carpet-like mats of sargasso seaweed, can stall a ship for weeks on end. And when the water isn't still, it can be violently unpredictable. NASA research confirms the constant existence of rogue waves in this area, sudden, towering walls of water that can reach 90 feet in height. These waves exert enough concentrated pressure to snap massive iron vessels in half, which is the most likely fate of the USS Cyclops, a 550-foot Navy collier that sank here in 1918. But physical damage alone doesn't explain perfectly intact ships floating without their crews. For that, we have to look at the neuroscience of panic, specifically a phenomenon called an amygdala hijack. When sailors are trapped at sea for weeks, extreme stress triggers this tiny almond-shaped cluster, the amygdala. It takes complete control, effectively blocking signals to the prefrontal cortex, which is the brain's logic center. Driven by desperation and severe dehydration, panicked sailors will drink seawater. The extreme salt intake induces rapid kidney failure and psychosis, leading to the delirious, fatal decision to jump overboard and abandon a perfectly safe ship. The monsters of the Bermuda Triangle are just extreme weather events colliding with the fragile biology of the human mind. The real dangers of this region boil down to a deadly combination of bad weather, spatial disorientation, and pure human panic. So if the empirical data proves that the ocean here is entirely average, why do we still cling to the myth of a curse? As an evolutionary survival tactic, humans are pattern-seeking mammals. We are hardwired to connect random dots to create a narrative that makes sense of our surroundings. An alien portal or a sea monster implies a grand design, a villain we can name and understand. Dying because a single compass broke in the dark is a terrifyingly chaotic truth. The myth of the Bermuda Triangle survives because we need it to. We use this constructed magic as a psychological shield, protecting ourselves from the unforgiving, random indifference of the natural world.